This is the Impressions Exchange Podcast. Where all topics impacting the graphic imaging and printing industry are addressed via in-depth news coverage, analysis, and timely interviews.
Hey everyone, I'm Gabby Hauk. I'm an associate editor for the Alliance Media Brands, and today we're here to talk about how the printing industry has become a more inclusive space for women. We've all heard the cliche that our industry is somewhat of a boys' club, but thanks to different initiatives and groups like the Women in Print Alliance, our voices are being heard more and more by the day. Today I'm joined by the fellow women from our editorial team to get their perspective on how much the industry has changed. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Gabby.
Of course. What's really cool about this group is that everyone here is at a different range in their careers. We have people who are industry veterans, and we have people who are maybe, 4 or 5 years in. Over the course of your guys' career, how have you watched the industry change for women? And anyone can jump off.
Since I'm the oldest one here, I'll probably start. I know for me, looking at wide format for commercial, that's where I started. It's changed a lot in terms of the makeup of the industry. There are a lot more women that are involved with the industry now at various levels throughout. I don't know if that's something that you guys are seeing as well.
Yes. Women are no longer relegated to just marketing roles. I remember I'm in my 20th year and going to a trade show. Look, let's be real, white guys in suits, that's who you would see walking the floors. I saw very few women. My publisher was a male. He would walk me around, want to introduce me. He was great, a true ally, but maybe that combined with my age, they didn't really want to talk to me. But today we see women running companies, leading multi-million-dollar marketing campaigns, working in the plant. The options are endless.
Yeah, I agree. I think just seeing more women in panels like the one we're doing right now, whether it's, moderating it or being, involved somehow as one of the participants, just more and more over the years, even just in the 7 to 8 years from when I started. So it's definitely a shift, and I don't know if it's women are getting more comfortable or having more opportunities or whatever it may be, because sometimes I know there's that barrier of, does my voice matter, of so many years of being told maybe that it wasn't.
Yeah, and I do think it's a culture shift. When before I was part of the media that covered the printing industry, I was part of the printing industry. We had a family print shop. And so as part of the printing industry, I would see fellow women, as soon as they learned a new skill, that skill would almost, if they learned it en masse, it would almost be devalued. And it was very, very interesting to kind of see this culture shift, and that the fact that we do have many allies now. We had some allies then, but for the most part, no. And, things were said like, well, maybe, the press room isn't a great place for women because we've got our Inks calendar with the women that are scantily dressed on top of cars. And the answer was get the women out of the press room, not take the calendar off the wall. So it's really good to see how far we've come.
I can remember I got my start 25-ish years ago, mostly in the New York print industry, and so they were smaller events, and I can remember walking into some of those awards dinners, awards banquets, and I would literally be the only female in the room of 100, 200 people, and it was uncomfortable. I never had anything happen, fortunately, but it was deeply uncomfortable, and I felt undervalued, overlooked, talked down to. I had a lot of mansplaining in my early career that they just assumed that because I was a young female, I knew nothing. And today, you can walk into, it doesn't matter whether it's a small event, a big event, there's going to be representation. I'm no longer the only woman in the room, and my opinion is valued. If I speak up, then people pay attention. They don't just ignore me just because, that's just the woman that's standing over there in the corner. She doesn't matter. So it's come a long way.
Yeah, I'd like to bounce off that too, Tony, because I'm fairly new to the industry. This is my maybe fourth or fifth year. And I feel like there's a need to feel like you have to prove yourself. And I've had instances where I feel like I've been overlooked because I am young and new. But there is a skill set there, and I think there's a lot of young women who, are students, and they're looking for opportunities, and they have a lot of skills. We see them at our student day at Printing United Expo, and they're looking for internship opportunities, and it's not something that should be overlooked because there's a skill.
I think what's important to focus on in that, and there's a huge change we're seeing in the industry, is women are not just speaking on panels about being women anymore.
Right.
They're speaking on panels because they're educated and they have something to say and people are listening.
Yeah.
When I got my start in the industry, most people were like, "Oh, you're a female, great, let's just use you for inclusivity." Now they're using us because we have something to say. We have a specific skill set, like Jesse was saying, where we have this formal training, the technical know-how. And I think that's just been a big change we've seen in the industry.
Yeah, definitely. You know, when I talk to some of these label converters and package printers, a lot of these guys are family owned, and so they're talking about their succession plan, and they are saying that the child they want to leave their business to, it's like as far as leadership, is the daughter, and they're saying there's multiple reasons. It said oftentimes the daughter has finished college, and so they have maybe some business background and things of that nature, but really feeling confident in being able to take their legacy and hand it off to their daughter versus their son.
It's funny that you mentioned that because so much of our job, we have every Women's History Month, we always go all out with Women's History Month coverage. What are some common themes in talking to female CEOs, presidents, things like that you guys have noticed, talking to them, their journeys, how they've started from maybe sales to winding up being, president of a print operation?
One theme that resonates and I think has across multiple is that they had to find their confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Because all of them, without fail, at one point or another, suffered from imposter syndrome.
Yes.
And I think a lot of that is also a woman thing, that we feel that we're not good enough for whatever the role is. But a lot of women, once they found their confidence and basically they're like, I don't care anymore, I'm going to do my job, I know what I'm doing, they went so far. It's so interesting just for some of them, like they were at first they might have been scared to ask questions because they didn't want to seem weak or they didn't want to seem unknowledgeable, but once they got out of their own head, it changed everything for them. Definitely.
Yeah.
And then how does a group like Women in Print Alliance help women continue to find their voices in the industry? And Denise, you're on the board. How has it been seeing Women in Print Alliance grow from a concept to what it is now today?
It's amazing because honestly, it provides women a place where they can find mentors, where they can talk with other people who are in similar situations. It's very empowering for a lot of women to get into a room, especially at Expo. We have a breakfast. It's sold out every single solitary year, every year. We've had a breakfast, we've had lunches, they're always sold out. And just to get in that room and just hear the buzz and to hear the women talking to each other and explain, and this is what I did, how did I overcome, how did I find my confidence, how did I do this when I was the only woman in a room? It is so empowering for them, and I really think that as we start gaining more members, it's going to be huge for the industry because it really provides a resource for all of the women, no matter what title they have. They could be entry level, they could be a press operator, they could be the CEO of the company. It doesn't matter. In some ways, women have experienced the same things all through their career.
Just knowing you're not alone.
Yeah.
And that other people have had the same struggles, the same, triumphs, the same setbacks, that we are, as a community, we've been there, and we want to reach out and, lift each other up and say, you are not alone. You can do this. Let me help if you need help. I think that's probably been, for me at least, the biggest thing that Women in Print Alliance has done is just, you're not alone.
And then for me too, being just a younger person in the industry, mentorship is huge for me. For you lovely ladies, who are some mentors that have stood out to you over the years that made you feel more comfortable in your careers?
My manager, Ashley Roberts. Ashley's been a great mentor, and I agree, having a mentor is really important, and it can open up opportunities for you to grow because you have a connection with someone and they see your skills and they see you as a person, and that's really important for opportunity.
And I'm going to say the same thing about all of you ladies, but also Denise. Because Denise has definitely been, for me, a champion of my skill. And I mean, we've talked about it and kind of touches on some of the other things we've said. My first trade show that I ever went to, I had a terrible experience. Someone would not speak to me. I was scheduled to interview someone and they wouldn't speak to me. And that was 10 years ago, and so much has changed in that time. But, I've had these discussions with Denise, just, knowing my worth, knowing I know what I'm doing and having that confidence, and talking, again, like you said, sharing stories and knowing you're not alone with other women in the Alliance has been really helpful. So, and all of you ladies are a, inspiration to me. So
Yeah, we're a lucky group.
Definitely.
But also in talking, it's great. You have this community. You have people who have gone through the same experiences. But in talking to some people, I've a lot of women have told me, about the great male mentors they've had,
Yes.
and I know that Women in Print Alliance welcomes their allyship, and one way that men in their organizations can do something for their female employees is purchase a membership, right? Is that something that we see, right?
And they can do, and some are doing it.
Yeah.
I know I've been, a bunch of men, people that might be leading companies, they'll buy a membership for their company because they value the women that are within, and they want to be able to offer that as something for their employees. But some of them are girl dads. And so, and that also hits them in a different way because they see their daughters, they see their nieces, they want the best for them. And so what are those opportunities that my daughter can now take part in, or my niece, or however, they're attached to, family members. So once it becomes personal, I think that also helps too, because they can see the need and the benefit of it.
And a lot of times those male mentors give us the confidence that we were talking about earlier, where, we go in with imposter syndrome, or we aren't given an opportunity, like Ashley was just saying. Someone shoots us down, they give us the confidence to go back in there and do it again. Not because, yes, because we're women, but also because we're the right person for the job. Early in my career, I went after a job that I was definitely not qualified for in terms of resume experience, but my male mentor empowered me to go for it anyway and do it. And so I think that that's really important, that we play on that allyship and we really take advantage of that, because you don't know where that confidence, inspiration is going to come from. There are a lot of great female mentors. There are a lot of great male mentors. The important part about what Women in Print Alliance offers is that safe space for everybody to come together and boost each other's confidence regardless of background or gender or whatever.
Yep.
Speaking of allyship, how do you guys think company cultures for just different print operations, Printing United Alliance included, has shifted to, better support you guys, working moms? Because sometimes there's that stigma of you can't be a mom and you can't work at the same time. And I feel like that's really changing over the years. So how do you guys think company cultures have shifted to, kind of better lift up women?
I think COVID helped a lot.
Yes.
Before, working from home wasn't really an option. Unfortunately, if you work in the plant, you have to report to the plant. But having that flexibility and trust that you'll get the job done is huge. That's me speaking from personal experience. Another woman I spoke to in the industry joked that she was jealous of how it's gotten better today. She recalled a story when she was 5 months pregnant on an airplane going to business trip, having all day sickness at that point, having to pull herself together and being greeted by the client with so when are they finding your replacement? Or who are we dealing with? And it's I'm only 5 months pregnant, and here I am. So there's still issues, but I think it's gotten a lot better. And I did notice during COVID, like I said, I saw a big shift.
Yeah, it's not just the print industry. I think our culture in general has recognized that people can be just as productive, and obviously press operators, you have to be there to run the press. But for a lot of roles, you can be just as productive somewhere else as you can be sitting at a desk in an office, and sometimes more productive. And I think women have probably benefited a larger amount for that than men, just in general, because working moms now don't have to make those sacrifices. All of those other, women tend to be caretakers of sick family members. Now they're not having to make those hard choices. So I think it's opened up a lot more ability to be able to juggle the multiple hats that a lot of women wear throughout our days. And just having that flexibility just as a broader cultural shift, I think is very encouraging.
There's been a huge shift in support systems too.
Yeah.
When I had my first child, I had to go back to work 8 weeks after giving birth, which was horrid. And I would walk trade show floors and I would have to find some dingy bathroom somewhere to pump. Let's be real, because I was still breastfeeding. And that was rough. And so the more we started asking, can you provide us nursing rooms or mother's rooms? Can you provide us breaks that we can go do these things? We need to stay more hydrated. We might have to take a phone call when our child is sick. I might have to take a meeting from home and hold my child while he's vomiting on me of the video. But the support systems have now been put in place. The important part is that people are listening to us when we say, these are things and we can do it. We can do it with all of these support systems, with each other supporting us and shifting. We saw a huge shift in the last 10 years, in my opinion, that now there are more support systems in place for women to prove that they can do it.
And interestingly enough, I know we mentioned that COVID was a big impact too, but I also think some of the newer generations of people coming into the industry are changing the way we're viewing work life and work life balance. Because a lot of the younger generations, they're like, what do you mean you can't flex your time, or we can't do this, that, the other thing? They're questioning or challenging things that maybe were a standard 10 years ago.
Questioning the status quo.
They're questioning the status quo, and in a way that has helped everyone. Because people are now looking at things because they realize, yes, you can't take a press home in the back of your car. I mean, there's certain things that have to happen in the plant, in the shop. But can we flex the time? Can we do early shifts? Can we split shifts between two people so that way they have a little bit more flexible schedule? They are finding ways to make it more beneficial for everyone. Partially also because it's hard to find people.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
I think Denise, just bouncing off of that, I am on the younger end. I think maybe part of the reason there's been that push is a lot, I graduated after COVID happened, so I've never been in a workplace like that. My job is able to be done remotely, so when a lot of people around my age are looking for opportunities, that's just what they know the workforce to be is there's remote options. So there's remote options, there's hybrid options, there's flexibility there, and it's just always how it has been for the younger people. So maybe that's part of why there's been that shift.
Definitely. And I think having representation within leadership, because we can have those conversations, because there are more women in leadership roles. I'm not a mother, but I know shortly after I came on, I went from being I don't know what I did with all my time. I mean, someone who had very little family responsibilities. I don't have children, and my parents started getting sick. I'm at the time, and when my parents started getting sick, and it was, it started with one and ended up with both, and it was such a huge shift. Parents, amazing, but I felt comfortable coming to you and saying, hey, this is what's going on. I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with it. What can we do, and what's there, and I felt very comfortable with you because you emphasize. We talk about the challenges of being a woman, But we also have gifts, and you allow us to lean into the strengths that we get through our socialization. We have a lot of empathy. We have we want to communicate with other people, and you encourage us to lean into those gifts and really be able to celebrate being female.
Thank you.
So as a group, how do we continue to kind of keep changing the status quo, and what are we going to do to keep, kind of just kicking butt and taking names? What are we doing?
I think just continuing to not back down even when we're scared, that even when it's a little uncomfortable, even when, you walk into, yes, there's a lot more representation, but there are still rooms that are primarily male dominated. To walk into that room and just be present, be in charge, be confident in who you are and your skill set, because that's what's going to continue to drive women forward in the industry, is the more of us that are out there saying, no, really, there's no difference if whether I'm male or female, I'm good at what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we need to pay attention
And
to.
So one thing I want to say on that, I'm now in content director role of Printing Impressions, and Denise, I know you and I had this conversation a long time ago, and I was like, no, I don't want to do it. I didn't think I could do it. And I was really hesitant about it. And between you and Mark Michelson, you both were like, you can do it, you've got this. Mark was just like such a champion as well for me taking this role. And I don't think without both of you, I would have done this. But since moving into the role, the first issue that we put out, the first editor's note, I had a woman write into me saying, it's incredible to see a woman on the editor's note of PI. I like feel emotional about it. But she was like, and I thought about it, and I don't think a woman has been in that role ever since 1958 when we were founded. So little glass ceiling, but we broke through it. And I have, the team to thank for that, and shout out to Mark Michelson for also being one of those allies who just really thought I could do it and knew I could do it and was there for
But
me.
look how that inspired somebody to say something.
Yeah. And that was just someone
think
who
it's
wrote
little,
in.
It's not.
That was someone I did
that's
not
what we have
know
to
who wrote in.
realize,
Maybe there were other people out there who didn't write in who felt something.
Just realize as a woman you make an impact, even if it's like in the smallest
Yeah.
editor's note, or it's the smallest little thing that you maybe say to somebody, or like a hug that you give somebody, like that matters, and that will empower other women to go out and feel confident.
I was saying to you earlier, Cassie, I took a business writing class a couple years ago. The professor told us to stop apologizing in our emails, in our writing, and it changed the way that I show up in the world, because I just took it to heart. And it does. Those small things make a difference.
Yeah.
Stop apologizing. Don't be afraid to ask the questions to things you don't know. It's not a weakness. It shows that you're willing to grow as well. Because I know a lot of women, they say that, oh, if I have to ask these questions because I don't know something, then it's a weakness for me. I'm not going to, seem as knowledgeable as anybody else. But it also shows that you're willing to learn. And that says something about a person too. If you don't ask any questions, then it's not like you know everything. There's so much information out there. So be willing to, in some ways, be vulnerable too, I think. And that's hard.
Very, very hard.
Yeah, saying yes to opportunities that maybe scare you, kind of like Ashley said, taking up space and being confident. And it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time for sure.
Yeah, and I think that is a wonderful cultural shift in the way that women are kind of trained to work in male-dominated industries. When I came out of school, and Denise and I know that we're around the same age, that the advice was learn how to play in a man's world, learn how to dress dress like the men in the room, unless they want you to dress another way. Done trade shows in heels because I was supposed to. It is refreshing that we can come to the table as our authentic selves. And that really is thanks to not only the people who represent us and the women in leadership roles, but also the the allies. I think that is hugely important.
We can be present, we can be confident, we can be knowledgeable, we can be skillful, and we can still be women.
Well, ladies, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you guys taking the time. If you aren't a member of Women in Print Alliance already, make sure you visit the website today and become one. And also, feel free to visit us at Printing United Expo, taking place October 22nd to 24th in Orlando, Florida.